dernier invité de ce campus, un Américain de New York. Avec lui, on va se projeter là encore dans l'avenir. Il est en fait un grand spécialiste de la convergence télé-digitale, spécialiste de la convergence contenu-contenant, hein, c'est-à-dire médias, télécom. Actuellement à la tête de FreeWheel, filiale digitale du géant américain Comcast. Il va, en 10 minutes chrono, nous livrer sa vision à 3 ans. Merci d'accueillir James Rooke. Welcome.
Thank you.
Ouais.
Hello, everyone. We're nearly at drinks, I promise. So I'm going to talk to you today about some major themes that are happening in the US market as it relates to the convergence of video. Just to give a bit of background on FreeWheel, FreeWheel is a division of Comcast. We are responsible for providing advertising technology solutions to power the future of television. And our mission is to do that for the industry globally, because we believe that the growth of the television industry is important for the buy side, and it's also important, of course, for sell-side publishers. Comcast is one of the biggest. Comcast itself is around a $13 billion advertising business. So the health of the television ecosystem is obviously incredibly important to Comcast. So there are 3 themes I'm going to talk about today. The first one is, in a world of audience viewing fragmentation, where viewers are watching across so many different screens, being that premium video is itself a relatively scarce asset compared to long-tail video, user-generated content, etc., then the first focus area of companies right now, which I believe is not just the case in the US, but globally, is how do you reaggregate that fragmented viewing to create the kind of scale that the buy side needs to be able to transact against. The second theme is, once you've reaggregated that inventory, i.e. enabled the buy side to be able to transact and follow and reach their users wherever they are, it's how do you make that inventory more intelligent by applying data. And the third theme we'll talk about is this concept of television acting as a platform. So let me explain what I mean by that. If you think of companies like Google or Facebook or Twitter or Snapchat, they are all platform companies. Television is itself a platform. It's a platform that we believe is the most effective platform to deliver against marketers' goals. However, television is made up of many different companies, all who are historic and current competitors. Our belief is that television is going to need to work much more as a platform, which is going to mean much more collaboration between companies who've historically been fierce competitors in order to help television grow and be competitive in the future. So we'll talk about some initiatives going on in the US there. So the first one is this concept of unifying quality reach. As I said earlier, viewing is fragmenting across so many screens. And the buy side just wants to buy high-quality inventory as simply as possible. But it's not a simple thing to do because of that fragmentation. So the work underway right now is a 3-step process. The first step is digital video. Every day, FreeWheel serves advertising into about 250 different devices on behalf of our clients. That's incredible fragmentation of viewing. So step 1 is enable that inventory to all behave as one. That's been achieved, of course. Step 2 is bringing in set-top box video-on-demand inventory. In France, I know that is all delivered through IPTV. In the US, partly it's IPTV and partly it's legacy television infrastructure. That has also been achieved in the US. And what I mean by that is Publishers are able to manage their digital video inventory and their set-top box VOD kind of IPTV inventory all as one. And the third step is bringing together that inventory with traditional linear television. And that's, of course, where the majority of the scale is. And it's an incredibly difficult challenge because you have to bring together legacy and different technology stacks, digital technology stacks, and traditional television technology stacks. There are different workflows. There are different measurement challenges. And importantly, there are different backgrounds and skill sets of people that come from either digital or traditional television that need to come together. But that's the work underway, and it's critical work because ultimately the buy side tells the heads of sales in all the US major programmers, I want to have one plan that I can deliver as one campaign that can execute and reach my target audience across any screen, digital, set-top box VOD, or linear, and I want one report back. And if television is unable to make it that simple, then there are other platform companies out there that will, and television becomes less competitive. So that's kind of the foundation. Step two is once you have this unified or converged pool of inventory, how do you make that more intelligent and work harder for the buy side and honestly be more effective for the sell side by applying data? So in the middle is a basic purchase funnel. And typically, as you guys know, premium video or television is typically used for top-of-funnel brand marketing. But there's a lot of work underway, and Howard touched on this earlier, in terms of how the television industry can develop solutions that are able to meet brand marketer needs down the purchase funnel. So the goal here is that television becomes a tool that is leveraged, not just for top-of-funnel advertising, but can be competitive middle funnel and bottom of funnel. So let's talk about a couple of examples of what's happening there. So the first one is around basic demo-delivered campaigns. When I talked about the world of digital and linear coming together, there's work underway in the US where digital ad-serving technology, of which FreeWheel is one of those companies, is providing recommendations to traditional linear schedules. What I mean by that is the digital ad server is receiving information from traditional television trafficking systems and using its algorithms to provide better recommendations about how to schedule spots to deliver higher on-target delivery. The second, and this is what Howard Schimmel talked about earlier, is audience optimized. I think he called it linear optimized. And that is where programmers are able to leverage operator data sets and also their own first-party and other third-party data sets to plan, optimize, and report against custom audience segments. As an example of scale here, last year, NBC Universal made a commitment that it was going to make $1 billion of inventory available to be guaranteed against audience segments. So this is real, and it's getting to proper scale. The third is addressability. In the US, addressability, i.e. delivering different ads to different households on traditional television, started on set-top box VOD, or over here, IPTV inventory. As you know, operators in the US have inventory rights as part of their carriage agreements. So the first step was operators like Comcast and Charter and Altice USA being able to take a brand marketer's proprietary first-party data, match that to specific households, and then deliver advertising to those specific custom audience segments. The second step that is live in the US right now is operators providing their set-top box data to the programmers so programmers can leverage operator data to be able to sell their set-top box VOD inventory. The next stage of addressable is linear addressable. So this is addressable advertising in live television. Many of the operators in the US are doing this today, the ones I mentioned earlier specifically. But similar to what happened on set-top box video on demand, the operators are working with their programmers, or working with the programmers, in order to enable executions of addressability for programmers. This is in relatively early stages, but it's a great example of the operators and programmer community in the US working together to make inventory more intelligent, and down this purchase funnel, be able to offer the buy-side solutions that are audience-based and addressable-based to meet each stage of the purchase funnel. And then finally, there's a lot of work underway building cross-screen ID graphs in consumer privacy compliant ways. What I mean by this is, how do you get a better understanding of a consumer's viewing behavior by matching set-top box information with their digital viewing information? So you're able to better plan, optimize, and report on cross-screen campaigns, and most critically, deliver better user experiences, whereby you're able to balance monetization needs with advertising experiences that are good for the consumers and drive better long-term relationships and engagement. The second area of focus around data is attribution and proving performance. So I think everybody inherently knows that premium video delivers results for marketers, but it's difficult to prove often because it's top of funnel. And there's a lot of work out there. Accenture did a study last year, actually, showing that bottom of funnel digital alternatives are claiming about 20% more ROI attribution than they should be, or said another way, television is getting a lot less attribution credit than it should do. So in the US at the moment, there's a lot of work underway with television companies and operators being able to demonstrate attribution, i.e. how television is driving performance, not just at top of funnel, but at middle and bottom of funnel, and ultimately sales. The example here is a campaign that Comcast ran for an automotive provider, and I won't go through the details, but the key point here is at the consideration and intent stage, third-party attribution companies are showing the lift that premium video is delivering, not just top of funnel. So that's a major focus in the US right now, and I believe will be something that is standard practice. TV programmers and operators in the US will be providing attribution reporting through to the buy side to be able to demonstrate the performance of premium video and demonstrate that it's the most effective marketing machine out there. The third and final theme I mentioned was this concept of television acting as a platform. This is a very, very important initiative. Well, actually, I wouldn't say it's an initiative, a theme in the US, but I also believe it is something that is global. I want to give a couple of examples of how television companies are working more closely together to rise the tide and with it rise all boats. The first one, as you can see, is an initiative in the US called OpenAP. The companies that you see here, Fox, Viacom, Turner, NBC, Univision, are part of that initiative. And they've come together and said, we need to make it more simple for the buy side to buy linear inventory against audiences. Because if we don't make it simple, the buy side will put their money elsewhere. So we are going to agree on the definition of audience segments and provide workflow whereby the buy side can buy an audience segment as defined by these companies and do that consistently across different programmers. So television companies will always compete on audience. They'll always compete on the quality of the content and data and the combination of all three. But also they recognize that no one company is big enough to compete alone, and we have to make things simpler, and we have to do it at scale in order for television to be effective in the long term. The second is with operators. This is an initiative between a number of operators in the US who are trying to solve for national addressability on behalf of the programmers. So because operators obviously have different geographic coverage areas, a programmer, if it wants to offer true addressable advertising, needs full coverage of the US market. Now, none of these companies want to put their data together for obvious reasons. And so what is being worked on at the moment is a federated model where different operators are agreeing a technology architecture where a programmer is able to run their applications once to be able to plan, optimize, and post-campaign report against the different data sets of different operators. Again, this is an example of collaboration to make it easier for the industry to work together to make inventory more intelligent. And the third is between partners. Comcast is just put an announcement out recently in terms of the work we're doing with Nielsen. The goal is to help Nielsen provide kind of total audience rating coverage so that the buy side gets what they need to be able to transact on things like set-top box VOD in the US. And we also believe that the challenge that the industry is taking on is so large, and for the technology companies like us, it's going to be important to work more closely with other ad tech companies who are focused on specific areas of the tech stack. And rather than constantly competing with each other and saying we can do everything ourselves, is be much more focused on behalf of our publisher clients in order to execute on the things I've talked about. Another and final example of industry collaboration is working with a bunch of companies you can see below on solving for data-enabled campaigns using blockchain. There was an initiative that was launched last year and is gaining great momentum. It is called Block Graph. Keeping it very simple, what it means is that to have true data-driven campaigns, you need data from advertisers, from device owners, from operators and programmers. But none of those people want to put their data together. So the goal is to be able to create an architecture that allows different parties to ask questions of participants to get insights back without the data ever leaving the walls of any of those owners. The goal here is to have no central vendor and basically have the industry globally be its own data platform where everyone owns the ID graph and consumer privacy concerns are addressed. So this is just another example of what the industry is trying to do to move forward with data-enabling inventory and do it in a way that is privacy compliant and respects the fact that we don't believe there will be a world where everyone comes together nicely and decides to put their data in a central repository. We don't think that will happen. So to summarize, we are driving to this world of convergence, and it's happening quickly. Step one is creating this single pool of inventory that enables the buy side and the sell side to transact at scale simply. That also means the ability for the buy side and the sell side to transact through any demand channel that they choose, whether that be direct sold or programmatic, and do that against any data set. And finally, provide a link to results. If we achieve that together, we think that will benefit both the buy side and the sell side, and we look forward to that happening and television being and continuing to be the world's most effective marketing machine. Thank you.